she had the sky safe and sound, never asking why. But in the shadows, plans were laid to send her dreams aflame and free. Commissar was still resolved. Watch the largest problems dissolve. Rena's laughter quickly drowned by the roar that shakes the ground. Nuclear supplies, well, what a sight to see. Rena's hopes gone in a blinding spree. Thought you'd escape, but here we are. Your fate sealed by a falling star. No remorse in the cold command. Finger poised a fiery hand. Rena gasped, but it was late. Nothing stops the hands of fate. Through the sky, the justice fell, turning calm to living hell. Silent judgment marked the spot. Rena's world now burns hot. Nuclear surprise, well, what a sight to see. Rena's hopes gone in a blinding spree. Thought you'd escape, but here we are. Your fate sealed by a falling star. Nuclear blow, next door. Nuclear surprise, well, what a sight to see. Rena's hopes gone in a blinding spree. Thought you'd escape, but here we are. Your fate sealed by a falling star. Your fate sealed by a falling star. Fate
All
sealed
wings
by a
report
falling
in.
star. No remorse in the cold command. Finger poised a fiery hand. Rena gasped, but it was late. No remorse, but it was love. Your fate sealed by a falling star. Lower sealed by a falling star.
Warpug.
Sealed by a falling star.
What's going on?
Sealed by a falling star. Rome is sealed by a falling star.
I don't care if it's the wrong universe.
Marina, no.
Guys, it's BattleTech Tuesday. We're here for it. Chucky versus the Mummy, both at full power. Who? The Mummy, dude. The Mummy, my guy. BattleTech's 40th anniversary and best pet and cross pet. Dude, we are going to be checking that out. Guys, it's time. Put your favorite mech in chat. Let's go. Let's go, okay? Oh my god, I'm streaming at the same time as Red? I actually got a chance to say hey to Red the other day. Sven was doing his premiere. I jumped in, muted, and automatically popped in and just said, hey, guys, it is BattleTech Tuesday. I have been looking forward to this all week. Couple of things that I'm very, very happy about this week. I took the day off today. There was a lot of stuff that I needed to get taken care of. Got it all taken care of. It's been kind of a day. I've been up since about, early. And once I'm done here, I am going to pass out. It's going to be, I'm going to drop, okay? I'm going to drop. But before I drop, we're going to be checking out the turning point. Oh my god. That bounced up rather fast. There we go. Hatchet Man, nice. The Marauder, yeah. Rifleman 3, I hear you guys. Okay, so. Oh yeah, like last night I was working and like really late. Something has been coming down the pipeline for a bit for me, and you guys, members and patrons, already have seen it. Everybody else is going to be seeing it tomorrow. Maxor put out something new. Hey, cat. Guys, the war crime cat has not been feeling all that good. She is very angry. But, yeah, she hasn't been feeling that good. She really hasn't. I'm hoping she starts feeling better. But, yeah, she has not been feeling all that well. We've been trying to take care of her best we can. She was an old cat. she was an old cat when we adopted her, and like she's been losing her teeth. So we've been making her food like a lot. We've been making her food a lot more palatable, and now she won't let go of my hand. Let go of my hand. Will you let go of my hand, please? Is this a negotiation? Okay. Yeah, she has been with me for quite a bit now. Okay, fine. You get to come back. You want to come back up here or not? I'm making an offer. Come here. All right, there we go. All right, there she is. Yep. She likes to grip my hand. Like, look. She likes to grip my hand, I know. She's a mess. She's a mess. She's an absolute mess. Okay. Ow, ow, ow. Okay. Your claws are digging in my shirt. Can we please? Can we please? I'm just asking for a friend. Now, go harass Mom. Anyhow. No! Stop it! Stop. I got work to do. Stop it. Stop. Get your fur everywhere. I picked up my coat the other day and it was flat out white because she's shedding like nobody's business. Get down! Now she won't leave me alone. It is the cat room. She won't leave me alone, guys. Okay, so the turning point. Azalea, don't worry about it. Catch the VOD. The turning point. We're gonna go ahead and jump into this. This is gonna be rather long. It's gonna be rather extensive. I said I was gonna do this one after we got caught up as far as the timeline to where we where the major houses were established, Star League, everything like that. Now we're going to be checking out the Golden Age of Star League next week from Sven Vanderplank. He's checking out cat. God, this cat. You made me lose my train of thought. It derailed. Are you happy now? Of course you're happy. You're never happy. Anyhow, I'm going to shut up and I'm just going to hit play. How about that? Let's just do that. X in chat if you want me to just shut up and hit the play button. Let's go. Get down. This intro is so good. I love this music. Hired Steel, DC Bruins, Locust Labs, Klumsky, Taria, Little Zaku, Wildcat 144. Featuring the voices of George Ledoux and BB Wolf, Mechanical Frog, Mariah Moran, Big Tech. Oh, Big Tech's here. Spending. Unexpected cameo. Okay, great. Shutting up. Just go. Let's just go. Oh my God. Here we go, guys. Let's go.
Please take your seats. Tonight, by popular demand of the student body, we're returning to the subject of military history by discussing in detail the early years of the clan invasion. While we touched on this in a previous lesson by discussing the climax, if not the terminus of the first clan invasion, with the Battle of Twycross, the lesson this evening serves as another bookend, that of the early war, where the Inner Sphere suffered through their own ignorance and catastrophic miscalculation to finally find the means to turn the tide against the invaders. For the Inner Sphere, it is a time of hopelessness, fear, dread, destruction, chaos, and...
Hold on a second. Cat, no. Don't step on that. Don't step on that. Don't step on that. Get down. Get down. Get down. That's the power cord. Get down. Get down, Cat. Come on. She just about shut off the stream. No. Get down. Go. Get down. Mouse. Would you get down? Cat. Thank you. God. Come here, you. Come here. No. Now you want to run away. No. I'm going to babysit you now because you're a brat cat. You're a brat cat, okay? Absolute brat cat. Let's get over here. There. You want to be the center of attention. How do you feel? How do you feel? You're the center of attention now. Everybody's looking at you. You feel good? You had your paw sitting right on the power. You had your paw sitting right on the power. Are you a clanner? Is that what this is? You don't like this story? Gearstark, thanks, bud. If there's one thing this BattleTech video teaches, is fear the sandstorm when it speaks German, the swamp-speaking Japanese, and the cornered Swedes. Are you part of Clan Smoke Jaguar? Okay, I'm going to set you down here on the desk. Now, can you act right for 5 seconds? This shirt was hairless when I started. Let's go.
of course, heroes.
Stop. She's just needy right now. Little did we know.
The year 3050 had every potential to be the dawn of a new golden age, though certainly not a peaceful one. Weapons technology once thought lost was finally beginning to return, and the previous decade provided the great powers of the Inner Sphere with grand and terrible ideas toward their eventual application. And so, they began to upgrade their standing military forces for the next inevitable throwdown, succession war, or regional security crisis. For the most part, however, it seemed that the great houses of the Inner Sphere were mostly content to put the cataclysms of yesteryear in the rearview mirror and continue on toward a somewhat brighter future. Oddly enough, the next great challenge to the Inner Sphere would not come from within, at least not directly. Little did we know that beyond our borders, across the vast gulf of space, we had been
Will you knock it off? Just stop. Just stop. Stop. What are you doing? Stop it. Are you making up for lost time or something?
scrutinized, watched, and judged by the descendants of General Alexander Kerensky's exodus, who were, by then, already on their way to fulfill an ancient promise, and perhaps their destiny. Through Nicholas Kerensky's creative interpretations of his father's impactful legacy, the clans firmly believed that the now distant Inner Sphere, once glorious under the united rule of the Star League, had since fallen to utter ruin and barbarism. The Star League, in its prime, was by their view of history a near-perfect Garden of Eden, which had been completely corrupted and then plundered by the avarice and greed of the great houses, each vying to burn that which they could not control. Despite this lens, they were not completely bitter in their outlook, for they had hope, and thus...
This cat, I swear to God, hold on a second. Just going to tilt the camera down so you guys can see what this cat is over here doing.
Purpose. This unifying purpose was principally derived from a belief known as the Hidden Hope Doctrine. This doctrine suggested that their great father, General Alexander Kerensky, had a plan for them, and through this plan he offered a potential means by which to fulfill their eventual destiny. The genesis of this belief was General Order 137, issued mid-Exodus on the 5th of December, 2785. With this order, General Kerensky had chosen to remind his soldiers of their greater virtues in a moment of moral crisis. The speech suggested that their hardships in leaving the Inner Sphere and its relative comforts far behind was a necessary act of supreme sacrifice in order to preserve the last decent aspects of the Star League. And, perhaps, in time, they would return to the Inner Sphere and save it by virtue of superior moral character. The words of General Order 137 would eventually be inscribed at eye level in every common room of every clan worship as an eternal reminder of their shared purpose and duty. This shared belief that they would at some point in the future save the Inner Sphere would become a philosophy called the Return. The subject of the Return would in time create a philosophical divide through two occasionally warring and very distinct interpretations. Some clans would choose to interpret General Order 137 as a positive message and a renewal of purpose. These clans saw it as a reminder of their eternal duty, a long watch maintained and kept by those faithful to the Star League's moral ideologies. These clans would frame General Kerensky's affirmation of purpose as an inspiration to form a better society, one which kept the spirit of the Star League, and thus its ultimate vision for humanity's future alive. Those which held this viewpoint would become known as the Wardens, who believed their purpose was to defend the Inner Sphere, and through nobility of character and by demonstrating virtuous action, thereafter guide those under their protection toward a noble, if not brighter, future. Some clans, however, fatefully chose to interpret the Great Father's words in an entirely different manner. This opposing philosophy saw Kerensky's speech as a lasting military order from beyond the grave. These clans saw their purpose as a militant one. To them, Kerensky's order required their return to the Inner Sphere by force of arms, and to raise a new Star League from the ashes of all who stood in their way. These clans, in their chosen application of this philosophy, would become known as the Crusaders.
Yay.
Philosophical disagreements between these ideologies resulted in
Tony, this could very well, like, the one thing I love about this is it very well could be the early stages of the Exodus in 40K. It could very well be. This would only be the 4th millennium.
debate and occasional violence between them, as is their custom, though consensus on what to do about the now distant Inner Sphere was not truly reached until the year 3004. That year, the clans decided to fully investigate what had happened to the Inner Sphere since their exodus, and sought to gain a greater understanding of what potentially awaited them should they finally choose to return. Under the assumed name of the Wolf's Dragoons, freeborn volunteers would travel to the Inner Sphere and then, once there, undertake a decades-long odyssey of exploration and mayhem, posing as mercenaries in order to faithfully report back the actual status of their long-lost homeland. Through the course of their intelligence-gathering odyssey, the Wolf's Dragoons relayed back to the clan homeworlds a confirmation of their worst-held suspicions, suggesting an inner sphere very much diminished after the Star League's collapse. The clan saw that succession war after succession war had achieved nothing but ruin and mayhem.
I broke the non-aggression pact, Francisco.
Adding to an ever-increasing body count for the sake of temporary strategic outcomes. And so it seemed that Kerensky's warnings were prophetic. Needless to say, the Wolf's Dragoons report did not bring good tidings or cheer to the clans, and so they began to debate on what to do about this. Some favored immediate action, others adopted a wait-and-see approach, and so deadlocked, time passed. Fatefully, the clan's ultimate decision to act was the result of outsiders accidentally landing on their doorstep.
Hey, Paisley.
When the Explorer Corps was founded by Comstar Primus Adrian Sims in 2959, their official stated purpose was to chart and catalog worlds far beyond the periphery. Their real and very covert purpose, however, was to locate long-lost Star League holdings and, if possible, determine the final disposition of Kerensky's Exodus fleet, which, unfortunately for all of us, they succeeded. In 3048, the Outbound Light, an Explorer Corps jump ship, stumbled upon Huntress, the home of Clan Smoke Jaguar. This moment of discovery did not make Clan Smoke Jaguar very happy.
Nothing made Clan Smoke Jaguar very, very happy. Everyone. Darkness has fallen. The wife has appeared. Give me 1 second, I'm going to mute this. Try now.
Hey everyone.
The hospitaler, we had a very, very busy day, and she was kind of wiped out. So I tried to wake her up earlier, but the concept of waking up the hospitaler from a nap is kind of like waking up a mummy. It just doesn't happen. So,
Yeah.
like earlier, I tried to wake her up, and she made a sound that sounded like.
I did not. You liar. You liar. Cut it out. You sound like a dying goose. You are so horrible. Aw, to yourself.
Yeah.
Freaking weird. Can I have my gamer stuff?
They're also in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Guys, we had like a rancor.
What did they say?
Gear Stark said more like a rancor. The cat was harassing me. Anyhow, we're checking this out, and once we get done,
Alright, y'all have fun.
I know she's a sister of battle. I haven't committed any crimes yet that would.
I'm not feeling violent right now.
Yeah, she just
before
woke
my
up.
nap I was.
She just woke up. She's
Yeah.
feeling okay right now.
Oh,
So, all right, have fun.
Alright. I love you.
She's watching High School DxD right now, and like she loves life because she likes anime like that. I don't know.
For in political and philosophical terms, Smoke Jaguar fell into the Crusader camp, and thus the sudden arrival of barbarians was not welcome news in the slightest. On the orders of Smoke Jaguar Khan Leo Showers, the crew of the Outbound Light was detained and thoroughly interrogated for any information about the state of the Inner Sphere and its ultimate intentions, as, alarmingly to the clans, by that time, the Wolf's Dragoons had since gone silent. Among the clans, some suggested that their turning native or embracing the Inner Sphere as their new home adequately served as damning proof of how corrupting the successor states had become.
This guy's face is like the poster child for meth, not even once. I'm just saying, okay?
As such, the Outbound Light incident was a tipping point, which began a new and spirited debate over long-held beliefs, suspicions, and fears. And soon, the clans gathered in council to determine what was an appropriate response to this latest transgression. It seemed that after waiting so very long, the time to act was finally upon them.
We do not come in peace. Nice.
The architects of the clan invasion were numerous, with representatives of both Warden and Crusader philosophies present in decision-making, as this would be a grand undertaking of supreme strategic and cultural importance for their entire civilization.
Oh, she gets mad at Crunchyroll when it censors them. She gets mad at it. She literally got furious at it one time. She was like, I was like, yeah, like, really?
Leo Showers of Clan Smoke Jaguar had ascended to Ilkhan and would have the honor of spearheading the war effort. He would have political and military planning assistance from many, though most prominent was Jade Falcon Khan Elias Critchell. From its very inception, it was a straightforward invasion strategy, as the clans had since formed an incredibly low regard of Innersphere military capabilities.
They had every reason to.
From the intelligence they possessed, they dismissed the vast forces of the Innersphere as incompetent barbarians. As such,
I know, Red Eye. Welcome back, bud.
4 clans to invade, with a 5th clan held in reserve should they be required, though they considered this eventuality highly unlikely. Their strategic planning would divide the invasion into corridors, with each tasked to an individual clan. By violence of action exercised through pre-planned waves of attack, their aim was to rapidly take planets on the way to Terra, and to destroy all who dared to stand before them in a war of righteous conquest. The invasion corridors would strike deepest at the newest and weakest of the Innersphere's great houses, the Free Rosselhog Republic, which provided the quickest access to their terminal objective, Terra itself. At the same time, clans on the flanks of the strategic push were to hit the Draconis Combine and the Federated Commonwealth in order to maintain the inertia of the attack and to prevent any notion of flanking or envelopment actions by their Innersphere opponents.
Yeah,
the periphery,
got
meanwhile,
pounded.
was deemed to be free real estate, where any clan could conquer and have whatever it wished.
You want to say that all the way over there? Are you out of your mind?
As was the long-held Star League tradition regarding such territories. For their bold strategy to succeed, they were banking on the relative incompetence of the great houses, and had presumed a lack of capable or decisive leadership amongst them. After thorough preparation and extensive trials to determine who had the honor of conquering what, the clans embarked on their long journey to the Innersphere, stretching a supply chain 800 light years to support this bold endeavor. By 3049, they had reached the periphery, and shortly thereafter, they struck. It would be Innersphere mercenary commands operating in the periphery which first offered a modest challenge to the clans, though not for long. The clans, for their want to show off and test themselves against these new and exciting opponents, frequently reserved the honor of combat for their most elite forces, and so deployed the Keshiks, or Command Honor Guard units, for these initial phases of the invasion. Incredibly overmatched, the periphery didn't stand a chance. The Battle of Sisyphus Lament began as a pirate hunt for the Kellhounds, who had dispatched their 2nd Regiment to scour the asteroid for the remnants of Kenny Ryan's pirate band. A scout lance of the 2nd, under Lieutenant Jackson Tang, would indeed fight the pirates, though not alone and not for long. When the Hounds found the remains of Kenny Ryan's pirates, they weren't standing tall to fight, but rather already running for their lives. Chasing the remnants of the pirates were unknown mechs who, soon after destroying Kenny Ryan's forces, turned their guns on the Kellhounds with zero loss of enthusiasm. The Kellhounds, while indeed formidable as Innersphere mercenaries, found themselves swiftly outclassed by pilots genetically engineered to drive peerless war machines they had trained from adolescence to operate, and facing equipment centuries more advanced than anything they had ever seen. They were quickly stomped flat. The once potent Oberon Confederation, a pirate realm and quasi-legitimate periphery state.
I love this map. We will not speak of this planet. I love that. Okay. No, Rat Eye, the Inner Sphere would not be considered the good guys. The Clanners would not be considered good guys. You can literally pick who you want to support in this in all actuality. Every single faction in this is got its good and its bad. But if you support House Liao, we have to throw you in a river.
State collapsed by September of that year. There, Pirate King Hendrik Grimm III faced the wrath of the clans, and soon after, his regiments folded like wet cardboard under the weight of the invasion. Those who survived were captured or escaped to tell tales of a mysterious invasion force beyond the imagination of anything yet seen. Fatefully, very few chose to believe them. By January of 3050, the clans had conquered all of the targeted worlds of the periphery with minimal loss of equipment, and so it seemed the return was going better than they had ever expected. It was there, on the verge of invading the Inner Sphere itself, that they were met by representatives of Comstar, who held a special place in the clanners' hearts.
Yeah.
As after all, Comstar's founder, Jerome Blake, had been placed in that post by General Kerensky himself.
This guy's quite literally looks like he has committed at least 7 felonies in the last 24 hours. I'm just saying.
Prior to the Exodus, it seemed that destiny fated them to work together, as both organizations shared an origin point in history, and similarly, both had a vested interest in restoring the Star League.
Why do you look like... Why does he look like Lorgar? 1 second. My wife wanted me to... That actually smells good. Okay.
Good, huh?
Yep.
For their side of this partnership,
You didn't
Comstar
say it
would
right,
agree
Seth.
to
You did
suppress
not say
all
it right.
communications
You have to say it right. Kane!
from worlds targeted by the clan invasion. It would also pass military information from the Inner Sphere to the invasion fleet, and in exchange, the clans would leave Comstar alone and allow them to administer the conquered worlds. Comstar basically handed the clans every advantage they needed to maintain a rolling communications blackout through the early phases of their invasion, thus preventing meaningful response from the Great Houses. Comstar's envoy for negotiation was Precentor Anastasius Vogt, and despite reservations about working with the invaders and uncertainty regarding their ultimate goals, he loyally obeyed the orders of his Primus, patiently biding his time and observing clan decision-makers as the invasion unfolded. On the 7th of March, 3050, the clans emerged from the periphery to begin the invasion of the Inner Sphere. The first wave of conquest was beyond shocking to the Great Houses, as they had never seriously considered the potential of an invasion from beyond known space, and had for centuries prepared only to fight their neighbors. And further, the clans' way of war worked in their favor by confusing the hell out of the Great Houses. To clarify this point, we turn to a first-hand account from the early days of the invasion.
We have no idea. Tracking. Yeah, IFF squawk is unknown. Yeah, we got them on the blower. Hold up, Colonel. These guys are weird.
Fine. Cancel the alarms and put me on.
I am Star Colonel Jarrah Carnes of the 4th Wolf Guards. What forces defend this world?
And I, Colonel Hannah Caitlin, am in command here, and the 3rd Regiment of the 12th Star Guards stand ready to repulse any invaders. I demand you further identify yourself. I'm not familiar with a merc unit called the Wolf Guards. Which house do you...
We are not orderless mercenaries, nor are we in the employ of your corrupt houses. Our identity is stated. You will either inform me immediately of the composition of your forces, or I will be forced to attack without the honor of the patrol, and with all the forces at my disposal. You have 1 minute.
The clanners acted as swiftly as their words suggested, as within 20 minutes of this awkward exchange, the 1st Battalion of the 12th Star Guards reported contact with armored infantry supported by mechs of unknown design. The report from the front was then cut short, replaced mid-sentence by an unknown mech warrior incoherently screaming that the Devil's Legion had come to Icar. In the command center, Colonel Caitlin's words serve as the best summation of events that day.
Alright, I give up. Who the hell are these guys?
This same scenario played out across many worlds.
Yes, Red Eye.
As in most cases, by the time the defenders knew they were under attack, the clans would broadcast their exact intentions in the open by issuing a battle challenge or batchall. Tragically, in many cases, the defenders' imperfect response to these challenges factually doomed them. As under clan rules, if the challenged party does not correctly respond with a full organizational table and allotted equipment for the intended defense, the attacking clan can take that as an excuse to use their full, unrestricted assets. Thus, the path from confused to defeated in these opening days was indeed short. Those who stood their ground frequently died. Those who ran mostly died tired, wondering what sort of fresh hell had descended upon them. Those who fled the battlefield offered incoherent stories of unknown invaders from beyond who were polite enough to tell you how they'd conquer your world, and with exactly what forces they'd wagered to do so. However, the Inner Sphere is, if anything, quite capable of adapting to hardship imposed upon them.
It's not that shocking either. Think about what it would look like and what it would feel like if, considering how battered apparently the Inner Sphere was after the Secession Wars, and just how long those Secession Wars had been, and how much technology had regressed apparently. Then all of a sudden you're in the equivalent of, I don't know, you're in the equivalent of urban mech technologically, and a marauder shows up to start beating the hell out of you.
And upon realizing that the clans held a strict adherence to a way of war, one bound by honor, the Inner Sphere slowly developed the means by which to defeat them. For the clans believed that war should have rules, and the Inner Sphere had long ago decided that war does not. Trell 1 would serve as the first large-scale battlefield between clan forces and the Federated Commonwealth, a superstate which celebrated its inception with a wedding and immediately thereafter, conquering some portions of the Capellan Confederation.
Hey, that's always a good thing.
Do. As an applied study, however, this battlefield offers unique insight into how the clans approached greater strategic quandaries. Clanner intelligence knew that Victor Steiner Davion was present and hoped that by capturing him, they could gain great honor, if not perhaps the compliance of the Federated Commonwealth. Thus, 3 entire clusters of Clan Jade Falcon's elite Falcon guards were tasked for the purpose. As such, the battle for Trell 1 marks the beginning of clanner attempts to capture high-ranking Inner Sphere leadership wherever possible. Victor Steiner Davion was the eldest child of First Prince Hans Davion and Archon Melissa Steiner. A commissioned officer in the FedCom military, he was on Trell 1 leading a battalion of the 12th Nautical Guards through a routine training exercise. Initially mistaking the clanners as the opposing forces for the day's wargame, the 12th was swiftly decimated, rapidly suffering significant losses under sustained inaccurate fire. Victor quickly retreated the remnants of his command to shelter in the nearby mountain caverns, trying to save what he could. There, his commander, Lieutenant General Hawksworth, brought Victor up to speed on the grim reality of the situation. Victor was informed that the defense situation was considered hopeless, and the initial attack so brutal that the regiment was already nearing defeat. Victor suggested the strategy of further retreat to delay, confuse, and tie up the enemy until help arrived. General Hawksworth, however, was more pragmatic and presumed that no rescue would be forthcoming. As the speed and coordination of the invaders coupled with the total lack of any meaningful warning from other commands, suggested this was not an isolated attack, but part of a larger and well-coordinated invasion.
Seth, that should be absolutely obvious what I would name my mercenary company.
From his strategic point of view, he reasoned it was very likely that other worlds were suffering the same fate, and quite possibly faring no better. And any notion of further resistance had a complication, as General Hawksworth's sense of responsibility to the realm would not allow the Archon Prince to be captured or killed. Thus, the general immediately ordered Victor's evacuation over the prince's continued protest. When he wouldn't go as ordered, his friend and adjutant Galen Cox had to sucker punch Victor in order to drag him away, and thereafter ensured he escaped off-world. To his credit, General Hawksworth would keep the invaders busy. With dwindling resources and zero hope of reinforcements, he continued to harass the occupation forces of Clan Jade Falcon for months until the regiment was utterly destroyed.
Yeah.
Many light years away, Turtle Bay would prove another flashpoint for the invasion, as Clan Smoke Jaguar fell upon that world seeking the capture of a Curidan noble. Defending the planet was the 14th Legion of Vega, a unit nicknamed the Path of Redemption, as it was where the DCMS put its undesirable mech warriors. The 14th Legion was largely derided as the armpit in the arm of the dragon, with low priority for quality equipment or meaningful deployment opportunities. By Theodore Curida's time, the 14th Legion was a place where fallen and shamed mech warriors could potentially earn their honor back the hardest way possible.
Oh.
And on Turtle Bay, they died trying. They stood their ground but were hopelessly outmatched, and as such, they were fodder for the Clanners' deployed forces.
Ooh.
With the defenders annihilated, Clan Smoke Jaguar took their prize. Shosa Hohiro Kurita was the eldest son of Theodore, and thus the heir designate to the Draconis Combine.
Oh!
His captors left nothing to chance, choosing to hold him in an infamous Curitan prison nicknamed Pain Mountain, which was a fortress so legendary in its long history of incarcerations that there was only one escape attempt which had ever succeeded. As fate would have it, that escapee had since become the Yakuza Oyabun on Turtle Bay. Using their underground network, resources, and knowledge of the facility, the Yakuza would free Hohiro. However, this act of defiance would have a cost.
Oh no.
Clan Smoke Jaguar had already demonstrated a heavy hand during the occupation, but this latest transgression was an escalation of defiance they could not accept. As a response, Galaxy Commander Cordera Perez ordered all Smoke Jaguar forces to immediately withdraw from the city. The CSJ Sabercat, a warship allocated to Smoke Jaguar's Beta Galaxy, was then called in to offer the clan's rebuttal from orbit. And shortly thereafter, the warship turned its guns on Ito. No surrender was heard, nor would be accepted, and from on high, they turned the city into a funeral pyre. It should be said that some clans ruled their conquered worlds with a gentler hand. Smoke Jaguar.
Gentler hand? The baby killer from the last one was... This is something he'd do.
Was not among them. And in the escalation of violence visited upon the citizens of Turtle Bay, they ultimately destroyed an entire city to make a point. Gratuitous in the extreme, the destruction of Ito caused immediate backlash from within Clan Smoke Jaguar, with Star Colonel Dieter Osis immediately challenging Perez for command of Beta Galaxy. As word spread of Ito's destruction, other Crusader clans reacted in different ways, some viewing the shelling of the city as an act of self-defeat and cowardice. For to annihilate the helpless on such a scale was considered dishonorable in the extreme, if not incredibly wasteful as an act. The Warden clans, however, saw the destruction of any civilian population as a criminal act, and thus in response, Clan Wolf announced that it would bid away all naval forces in every further battle. And as the clans are bound by competitive honor, upon hearing Clan Wolf's declaration, each of them in turn had no choice but to declare the same. This choice effectively removed warships as active participants in further planetary invasions. War crimes aside, the clans had very efficiently achieved the objectives of the first wave of their invasion plan, taking 35 worlds from the inner sphere in a matter of months. Through this success, the clans felt elated, for the Great Return had become manifest, and day by day, they were fulfilling General Kerensky's hidden hope. However, complications had indeed arisen, and not leastwise with the destruction of Edo. In debriefs among the clans in council, Smoke Jaguar and Jade Falcon both inflated their successes, and further stated their military objectives had been met without much complication or defiance. To contrast,
Not really that
Clans
screwed.
Wolf and Ghost Bear were more grounded and truthful in their reports, as many occupied worlds continued to resist and did not see the clans as their rightful rulers. Ghost Bear leader
They thought they were having a problem with this. Gee, like, you're invading Rosselhog, okay? You're invading Rosselhog, Karita, and the Lyrans. Bring that shit down to the Concordant. Let's find out how well this goes for you.
leadership even went so far as to call in favors with Clan Steel Viper for help in pacifying resistance on worlds freshly conquered. Steel Viper being who they are, this pacification program gave rise to a new category of shotgun,
Oh boy.
intended for the purposes of crowd control. Regardless of their individual challenges or complications up to this point, the clan shared a common sense of destiny, and thus an invasion schedule to keep, and so they pressed on.
I don't think that the clans would have done that well if they had invaded the Concordant. I don't think they would have had a good time. Yeah, you can beat the mechs, but you're gonna have a really bad day, okay? Like, you're gonna have a horrendous day. The get off my lawn is a massive, massive deal.
The third wave of the clan invasion would prove to be a decisive turning point. Ulrich Kerensky, Khan of Clan Wolf, had revised the original plan of attack. By broadening the scope of the invasion, he doubled the number of worlds originally targeted without additional forces bid to the task. This was a bold choice, as the clans were already suffering logistical issues at this point, with a supply chain stretching all the way back to the clan homeworlds, and thus pushing forward was a gamble of resources yet delivered. This very gamble brings us to an odd place, one where the clans fail to recall their own history and to heed the lessons it contains. And so, we must briefly discuss the legacy of Major General Absalom Truscott. Throughout his distinguished military career in the SLDF, he demonstrated incredible aptitude as a meticulous strategic planner. As a general, he was a key member of the SLDF command staff throughout the Ameri-Civil War, eventually serving as a capable aide to General Kerensky. After the Exodus and the hard years that followed, he would become Khan Absalom Truscott, the founding leader of Clan Star Adder. By that time, he was likely one of the last surviving members of the SLDF in exile who had any notion of how grand-scale warfighting actually worked. His immortal words stand as an eternal reminder to heed the basics of strategy, and most specifically, the critical topic of logistics. Centuries down the line, his warnings appear almost prophetic.
Doctrine and rhetoric cannot win battles, and if considered above experience will lose the campaign. It is the experience and courage of our warriors employed by skilled and intrepid commanders decisively, and supported by a flexible and hardy logistics chain that will win the campaign. In the absence of one, or even two, battles may be won, but the campaign will be lost. Our warriors are experienced and courageous, and our commanders are certainly intrepid. It is in the realm of logistics where we continue to fail. In the process of creating this new society and transforming our military, I fear we have lost the experience we need to support our warriors as they fight this campaign.
Encumbered by the greatest logistics challenge in human history, any further delay in ending the war on favorable terms could potentially spell doom to the clan's strategic objectives, as by contrast, the industrial bases of the Inner Sphere were vast, and while the great houses were certainly on the back foot and incredibly disorganized, they would likely soon fully mobilize to face the invasion with renewed determination. Any sane command staff in this precarious situation would have dug in and waited for a counterattack, or if absolutely intent on maintaining the inertia of the invasion, at least choosing worlds more carefully before proceeding.
Nope.
However, it should be said that notions of destiny frequently have a way of overriding any meaningful sense of caution. The third wave of the invasion began in June of 3050, with Clan Wolf tearing into the Free Rosselhog Republic. The bidding to invade the Rosselhog state between Khans Ulrich Kerensky and Bjorn Jorgensen resulted in a much diminished invasion force. Clan Wolf, to win the bid, had agreed to invade Rosselhog with only 3 clusters, which, while elite, were many times smaller than the defending Rosselhog military.
The clans were kind of stupid when it came to how they did their war. If they had done their war the way the Inner Sphere did its wars, they would have taken Terra in months.
Clan Wolf was confident, as they had since gained an insider's perspective. Taken as a bondsman, Phelan Kell had been captured the previous year during the last days of the Oberon Confederation, and had since acted as an advisor to Khan Ulrich. Through his direct assistance, the plan to swiftly and efficiently conquer Rosselhog was formulated. Having spent time there prior to his deployment to the periphery, Phelan had insight the clanners needed on what worlds could be most efficiently conquered. Evidence suggests Phelan Kell helped in this advisory capacity, in principle, to diminish collateral damage and, if possible, prevent an unnecessary loss of life, which, for a mercenary of that time, is very rare as traits go.
Okay, so Rad-Eye, let me give you some context, okay? Okay, so you have the clans, which right now, you're seeing 4 of the clans invade: Jade Falcon, Ghost Bear, Clan Wolf, and Smoke Jaguar. You have the 5 great houses, which are Merrick, Liao. You have Merrick of the Free Worlds League, Liao of the Capellans. You have Davian of oh my god, my brain just shut down. Fill in the gap, guys. Fill in the gap. My brain just shut down. You have the Karita of the Draconis Combine, and you have House Steiner of the Lyran Commonwealth. Those are the 5 great houses and the 5 major states. And then you have the periphery, which the Taurian Concordat is on the bottom. You have the Outer Worlds Alliance and the RimWorlds Republic. And that's pretty much it. Yep. Davian is Federated Sons. Thank you.
After appearing in system, Clan...
Now, the 5 great houses and the periphery will be... the 5 great houses would be considered the Inner Sphere. The periphery is the periphery. The clans are the clans.
Wolf's invasion force broadcast their intent and issued their formal challenge to conquer the planet. In response, Rosselhog
I can never forget the Canopus Cat Girls.
General Christian
RimWorlds don't
Manslaughter
exist right now? Okay.
planned to make them pay hell for having the audacity to try. At his command were the first
Cat.
Dracons.
Cat, stop it. Get down. Get down. Don't jump up there. You're going to turn off everything. Why are you being a cat? Here, I'm going to put these right here in the way so you can't jump up there. Here. There. Now you can't jump up there. We'll put that right there. There we go.
Which possessed a substantial
The cat is probably
aerospace
Capellan.
wing. His defenses were further reinforced by a battalion of the 2nd, who had survived earlier engagements versus the invaders, and thus brought their hard-won lessons to this fight. From Firebase Tier to the city of Hammerfest, the defenders prepared their weapons and waited. Their plan was for a mobile defense, to make the invaders pay for every meter of ground, every city block, and then to harass the enemy until the invaders gave up, or all the defenders were dead. However, Rasselhag had a massive, homegrown disadvantage. Before the fight even began, many of its defenders were already debilitated thanks to the annual summer strain of the Fenris Plague,
Yay.
which made planetary mobilization a supremely difficult matter, even during peacetime training. With many of the defenders functionally incapacitated, they were on the back foot before the shooting even started. And most unfortunately for them, Phelan Kell had informed the clans of this very weakness. The battle began on the 12th of July, 3050. Even diminished due to the plague, the defenders of Rasselhag gave Clan Wolf's 279th battle cluster absolute hell. While indeed very brave, with many fighting for their homes, they were no match for the disciplined might of the Clanner war machine. By the end of day 1, the defenders of Tyr were pushed back to their positions just outside the city and prepared to be overrun, fully intent on selling their lives dearly in order to delay the invaders. On the offense,
Excellent
Clan
chat
Wolf
from my
performed
community. We're awesome.
exceptionally well, hitting and fading from contact to bleed the defenders dry. The 4th Wolf Guards cluster attacked north of Reykjavik, with the thickly forested and mountainous terrain there effectively masking their approach. Debilitated by illness, overmatched, and outmaneuvered, it seemed that Rasselhag was doomed, and so General Mansdottir had one last task to accomplish. To this end, he ensured the elected prince of Rasselhag, Hakon Magnusson, escaped the world, and ordered the entire arrow wing of the first Drakons to escort him to safety. This choice effectively sent a good portion of their remaining forces to abandon the defense of the planet, but the Rasselhag defenders believed that if the prince lived free, so did the Republic, and thus their sacrifice was not in vain. And with this mission accomplished, they prepared themselves for their final stand. They fell back to the capital city of Reykjavik, and like a Viking saga, these fanatical warriors refused to surrender, and instead stood their ground to fight and die for their land, for their freedom, for their sons and daughters, and for their republic. For 2 full days of hell, Clan Wolf tried to make them break, throwing all they had at the city's defenses. The defenders refused to lay down, meeting every attack with renewed determination, with battle cries and fury, with the blood of their people. By the end of the fight, the city itself was a cratered moonscape covered in the burning hulks of destroyed machines, the pieces of ruined battle mechs, and the bodies of the fallen. It is estimated that 70% of the city was destroyed by the end of this apocalyptic engagement, and while the city's defenders had indeed fallen, any sense of victory from Clan Wolf was premature. The planet had more defenders, and emboldened by the defense of Reykjavik, they too refused to surrender. This was their home. They were a free people, and they aimed to remind the invaders of this fact. Firebase Tyr would hold out for another month, requiring Clan Wolf to lay siege in order to bomb them out. And even after that, the fight continued, as General Mansdottir escaped, and thereafter mounted a continued resistance and insurgency for another full year, fully intent on stacking clanners like cordwood until they finally made him stop. Even after he was captured, his second-in-command continued the fight. For the clanners, 3050 was the beginning of true hardship, as while Rosselhog had burned, its elected first prince had escaped via jump ship, and thus organized resistance would continue. Other attempts to capture the leadership of the Inner Sphere had been met with similar outcomes, with forces willing to fight and die to keep them free. Indeed, many other worlds were defiant until the end, content to stop the invaders, if for only a day, or, failing that, to carry lessons off-world which might stop them completely. Slowly, the Inner Sphere was waking up, realizing that these invaders required a firmer hand. In March of 3050, Clan Jade Falcon had struck the Lyran portion of the Federated Commonwealth and easily smashed the planetary defenders they encountered, who were swiftly overrun by the awesome intensity of the Clanner war machine. Worlds fell in rapid succession, with few defenders living to tell the tale. In June of that year, the planet Twycross fell to the very elite of Clan Jade Falcon, the Falcon Guards. At that time, the planet was lightly defended by the Tamar March Militia, which was a unit with near no combat experience, and at the very best, second-rate equipment. While unable to deliver a line fight to the clans, the militia quickly changed tactics and instead wisely decided to go asymmetrical in their response. Through guerrilla warfare, the militia was able to buy enough time for a semi-orderly evacuation. And to get much-needed intelligence off-world. While not historically significant on the battlefield, the bravery of the Tamar March Militia offered a chance at success, which would in part help turn the tide of the overall war. Their experience with Jade Falcon tactics, mechs, equipment, and combat capabilities would provide the Inner Sphere insight they had lacked, and thus laid the foundation for a successful counterattack. Soon after, under Morgan Hasek Davion, the AFFC gathered on Sudaden to plan a strike in order to show the clanners that nobody just waltzes into the Inner Sphere and gets away with it. Under his command were reinforcements summoned from powerful mercenary units and further bolstered by freshly mobilized House military forces. Victor Steiner Davion, who had been evacuated from Trail 1 earlier in the invasion, joined the contingent at this time and was transferred to the 10th Lyran Guards, a unit which had not seen meaningful action since the Succession Wars, but was nonetheless shuffled into the strategic deck out of grim necessity. Exhaustively, the command staff pored over every scrap of intel that had escaped the clan invasion corridor and thoroughly reviewed the battle reports taken from units who had worked to their very end to provide useful information against their invaders. It was soon realized that there was no easy way to counter the clans in a peer engagement, or to even identify and prepare for where they would strike next. So, in typical FedCom fashion, they decided to go on the offensive. Reverting to pre-Succession War thinking, they realized their counterattacks in this war would rely on numbers to overcome the differences in technology or lack of power projection. Thus, offenses would consist of entire divisions, not mere regiments or piecemeal mercenary deployments. Accordingly, it was understood that this would be a war of attrition, one where the clanners would be ground under the weight of Inner Sphere madmen supported by the greatest military-industrial complex in the galaxy. The last stand of the Tamar March Militia would provide them the means. Twycross was home to a weather pattern known as the Diabolus, which was a massive and continuous sandstorm so severe that it potentially neutralized any range or detection advantages that clanner technology provided. On any other world, the FedCom forces on the offense would be detected and immediately outmaneuvered by the clans, who could bring accurate firepower to bear at greater ranges than their Inner Sphere counterparts.
We're talking some Steiners here. I heard the name Steiner, so I'm guessing there's going to be Atlas scouting parties.
However, here was a battleground where they might be able to even the odds by using the storm as cover, and thus Twycross immediately
Vale,
went from
what's up,
case
bud?
study to prime objective thanks to its remarkably terrible weather. Additionally, because of Twycross's appallingly permanent sandstorm, most of the population lived underground, and thus losses to its cities or vital industries could be minimized regardless of the forces allocated to the operation or how they chose to fight.
Nice.
This meant that the FedCom task force could go gloves off and burn half the planet with near no concern for collateral damage.
Oh,
The
God.
last intelligence from Twycross has suggested that at most, a single clanner regiment was holding the world as a defensive garrison. And so, with no better options apparent, the operation was greenlit. Little did they know how wrong they were.
Intermission. It is time for us to sit back and enjoy a break from the constant madness. Let's go. Breaking space news.
Hello, this intermission is brought to you by 30th Century Fox, your source for BattleTech news and entertainment.
Okay.
Welcome, I am Paul, and I'll be your host for the intermission. The countdown timer in the bottom lets those during the premiere know how long they have to get more whiskey, popcorn, or bacon.
Bacon.
First off, I'd like to thank you for showing up at the premiere, which as always is raising the roof for charity. What you may not know is that for the last 5 years, Tex and the Black Pants Legion have raised roughly $500,000 US in charity, saving people's lives, homes, and even a Christmas or two. So if you want to help, the donation bar is over there on the right. As for news, Tex and the depth stream on WBPL 76 on Twitch most Fridays.
Boy. What?
That fucking Prius didn't even stop. It just ran itself up the side of my fucking truck like it's drunk using the guardrail.
Wait, what lane's he in?
He's in the middle lane.
He's in the middle lane, huh?
Yeah.
Justice! Alright, well done. Goddamn straight. Alright, that's called
do we need
teamwork.
service?
Crow and Hutz, the editing duo, stream on Courtesy Flush, which is typically insane.
Courtesy flush. Nice.
Oh, he's moving. And you're good.
You know, the only way to cap this is to get found out at the last minute. No!
Nice.
Why did I jinx it?
Nice.
Why did I jinx
Why did you jinx
Nice. Hey, it is Strawman.
And the BPL has a podcast and a website, both of which are very above average. If you want to help
Very.
paper artists keep the production running, here's the Patreon. Keep in mind, Tex just put it back into production, and it took a concentrated effort to the entire community for 11 years to force him to take a cut. He likes making stuff more than he likes making money. And if you're interested in weekly BattleTech news about all that's going on in our fandom,
Will do,
please
Malachi.
check us out, link below, at 30th Century Fox. And now, back to the show.
Yay!
The Federated Commonwealth hurriedly assembled a task force from available units, with many of its components freshly mobilized and thus very green.
Yay.
Relying entirely on unproven assets would likely be a repeat of disaster, and so the task force needed something with a steely backbone. Thus, they called upon the toughest mercenaries they had on contract, the Kellhounds. Formed in 3010, The Kellhounds had seen action in the Fourth Succession War, as well as the War of 3039, and had been in regular contact with the clans throughout the invasion. Having lost a battalion the previous year fighting in the periphery, the Kellhounds were likely in this for more than money. Hardened Kellhound veterans under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Allard would take center stage in this fight, and knowing full well that this could be a monumental bloodbath, they were financially compensated ahead of time for any losses they would take. In mercenaries' terms, this is as good as it gets.
Yep, pretty much.
The 9th FedCom Regimental Combat Team was chosen to accompany them, as they had trained in the harsh storms of the Kimball system prior to the mobilization, and thus were adequately prepared for the unique weather conditions of Twycross. Their mission was to bait the trap. Upon landfall, they would be deployed further afield in the Diabolus, and then use the storm for concealment. Proceeding under cover, the 9th RCT would plant mech decoys around their landing spot on the Plain of Curtains, and then hopefully draw the clanners in, where the rest of the FedCom forces could then join battle and try to overwhelm the clanner garrison on more favorable terms. The 10th Lyran Guards would be the task force's backup and strategic reserve. The 10th Guards are a historically significant unit, called at one time the Thundering Elephants. Composed of hand-picked applicants who were then extensively screened for loyalty, the 10th Guards was historically the command granted to future Archons of the Lyran Commonwealth. However, the 10th had not seen action since the Fourth Succession War, and did not participate in the War of 3039. So by this time, they were considered extremely green and ultimately untested. While indeed incredibly inexperienced compared to the Kellhounds, the 10th was full of exceptionally loyal, well-trained mech warriors driving freshly mobilized battle mechs. Their incorporation into the task force suggests that any shortfall of demonstrated aptitude would be overcome by their strength in numbers. In short, typical Steiner battle tactics would apply. They would be the clumsy hand of a drunk and furious god should the situation call for it. Commanding part of the 10th was Victor Steiner Davion, likely still stinging from his defeat at Trell 1, and very much seeking to prove himself on the field of battle. As well, the 10th had a secret weapon in Kai Allard Liao. As a battalion commander, Kai was a graduate of the New Avalon Military
A Capellan has entered the field. Expect backstabbings.
Academy, where he'd first met Victor, and they'd since become friends. Self-effacing and ever humble, Kai demonstrated incredible talent throughout his academy years, and thus was an able member of the 10th, if not one of their finest at that point in time. While the Federated Commonwealth put their plan in motion, there was a significant complication. The clanners were not as weak as intelligence had earlier suggested, as the forces presumed to have left the planet, indeed, had not. After evacuating as many as they could, the last remnants of the Tamar March militia on Twycross had not stopped fighting, and as one of their final acts, they succeeded in destroying a Jade Falcon ammunition depot. This modest act of insurgency prompted Star Colonel Adler Malthus, commander of the Falcon Guards Cluster, to delay his departure and handover to second-line garrison forces. He believed there was still work to be done on the planet, and so he missed his jump ship window. To better understand his thoroughness and determination as a battlefield commander, we must examine his combat record to this point in history, which was the stuff of legend. I cannot understate the proven lethality of the Falcon Guards. Of the 12 entire FedCom and mercenary regiments the Jade Falcons destroyed by this point in time, a total of 4 were annihilated by the Falcon Guards alone. Malthus was their ferocious leader with a near-flawless combat record across many difficult campaigns, each in their own right worthy of glorious song and story.
Hooray!
It was he who led the Falcon Guards to victory on Barcelona, where his breakthrough in supporting the 9th Talon Cluster had utterly shattered the 17th Sky Rangers. On Toland, his forces annihilated the 2nd Regiment of the 12th Star Guards. And on Apollo, he'd fought the 2nd Gravewalkers and the Apollo Militia both, and won handily. This was as well perhaps his most notable achievement, as the weather of Apollo was hellish and the defenses of that world significant. The extensive defensive fortifications of Apollo were originally modeled off the Castle Bryan fortresses used by the SLDF, and their construction on Apollo had been ordered by Stefan Amaris himself. And even with the odds so stacked against his success, Malthus swiftly conquered that world all the same. Ever resourceful, bold, and brave, he was a fierce commander, and the Falcon Guards were perhaps the greatest part of Jade Falcon's Gamma Galaxy, and thus, very likely, some of the best fighters in the Inner Sphere at that point in time. And the Federated Commonwealth Task Force, already en route, had no idea they were there.
Oh, God. This is gonna hurt.
The AFFC Task Force utilized a pirate jump point to better conceal their approach to the planet, and soon after arrival, made their landing on 10th September 3050. The initial landing went well, with the raging sandstorm of the Diabolus providing much-needed cover for the invaders, though it soon caused havoc by breaking their lines of communication. While the 9th RCT set out to lay the trap, the Kellhounds mustered their forces on the plain of Curtains and were joined by Lyran Guard armored elements as backup. The plan was simple enough: to give battle on the plain, and then once the Diabolus covered them, treat the Clanner garrison to a close quarters beatdown. The Green 10th Lyran RCT was to be held in reserve to support the flanks, reinforce the Kellhounds, or fill in the line as casualties mounted. In short, they were ad hoc reserves and would appropriately serve as attritionable forces if required. But as they deployed, there was a weakness in the plan, and potentially a catastrophic one. While the mountains bordering the plains provided favorable terrain to this encirclement strategy, there was a gap. A winding canyon existed through the Windbreak Mountains, one wide enough to support an entire column of mechs plus support. If the Clanner garrison managed to exploit this, the FedCom forces on the plain could be attacked from behind, and with the storm playing absolute havoc on communications, they'd have no idea until it was far too late.
Oh, that's
To secure
ugly.
this potential weak point, the 10th Guards sent a company of mechs and most of its infantry forces to defend the canyon, hoping to defeat or delay an enemy approach should one appear. Once there, combat engineers immediately formed a contingency plan to destroy the pass with pentaglycerin explosives should anything attack through the canyon. Soon after putting their plans in motion, scouts reported that the Falcon garrison had been spotted, likely drawn to the plains by intermittent sensor ghosts from the 9th's forces milling about in the storm. Scouting units had also confirmed what earlier intelligence had suggested, that second-line mechs were indeed among the makeup of the Jade Falcon garrison forces. But troublingly, a number of Omni-mechs were also observed, which suggested this battle would be far from easy, and that their intelligence was dangerously out of date.
Yeah.
The storm they had chosen for cover did not choose sides, and in its intensity, communication with forces stationed at the canyon soon lost contact with the task force on the plain.
Before this gets kicked off, I'm going to use the restroom real quick because I haven't had a chance to do that yet. I'll be right back. intermission, 3 minutes. Be right back. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Nostroman, first thing I see when I get back is ever shit in your shower. Nice, let's go.
Further forward, the 9th RCT had entirely disappeared in the storm. Thanks to the collapse of the communication network, the Kellhounds and most of the 10th were effectively on their own, with no easy means to signal reinforcements or to adequately coordinate response. With battle soon approaching and under a communications
He's wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Oh, what the hell is that?
nightmare, the AFFC had to act quickly in order to prevent a potential disaster. To ensure that the clanners were not encircling them, Commandant Steiner Davion sent his trusted friend, Lieutenant Kai Allard Liao, with a medium lance to the canyon. His orders were to make contact with forces in Sector 0227, where a mobile hospital had been set up, and then take charge and report back the situation there. Hopefully once there, Kai would report back that the canyon was secure, and thus the task force could press on with their mission as planned. The Kellhounds,
Jacob,
likely
welcome back,
worried
dude.
The 10th Lyran Guards had no backbone.
Thank you, bud.
Sent picket forces to the rear of their formation, hoping to provide some semblance of a warning if Clan Jade Falcon had indeed broken through, or perhaps to act as blocking forces should they decide to buckle and flee. Soon enough, they would have their answer. The Falcon Guards had stationed themselves at the Twycross starport near the city of Camorra, eagerly awaiting off-world transport to take them to their next conquest. Once they heard that garrison forces of the Jade Falcon Eyrie had spotted unknown invaders on the Plain of Curtains, the Falcon Guard mounted up and swiftly moved to engage. Their plan of attack was simple. They would proceed through the canyons of the Windbreak Mountains,
Oh, no.
smash any forces there, and then act as a hammer to the Erie's anvil in order to swiftly encircle the invasion force on the plains, and then to destroy them.
Grand Reaper, you have a
in
nice
one
night.
fell swoop.
Ugh.
The Falcon Guards drove their 45 Omnimex toward the fight, with a screening force of elementals deployed far ahead. Their screening force would identify and engage, if not eliminate problematic targets prior to the Omnimex arrival, hopefully paving the way for
Yeah.
a swift victory. The elementals of the Falcon Guards were excellent combatants, with a long list of victories to their already impressive battle record. Upon encountering the Lyran infantry stationed at the canyon, they leapt into action and quickly began to slaughter them.
Excellent chat,
The
Noob Rat Eye,
elementals
for
of
that
the Falcon
suggestion.
Guards were a worst-case scenario for the Innersphere infantry stationed at the canyon, as the
Aside from Space Marines, I don't know. in any fantasy universe, I think the Elementals would be the worst kind of heavy infantry to fight, other than Space Marines that came out in massive quantities. Like the Spartans, of course, but like the Elementals were just the infantry.
Battle unfolded, Jade Falcon Elementals quickly identified and killed FedCom command elements, destroyed their heavy equipment, and scattered the defenders in a matter of moments. In their ruthless efficiency, they had neutralized the combat engineers assigned to destroy the canyon. Thus, they had paved the way for Malthus's march to glory. Kai Allard Liao had arrived at Sector 0227 just as things began to collapse. His own family mech, the infamous Yinlo Wang, a centurion named after an ancient god of death, had been lost on the way to the battle, thanks to Lyran bureaucratic incompetence. Instead, he piloted a loner hatchet man, and as he arrived with his borrowed machine, he quickly understood that things were going to hell. Lyran infantry were swiftly routing after being torn limb from limb, and it looked like his reporting objective, the hospital, was soon to be overrun. While the explosives were indeed already planted at the canyon, the loss of the combat engineers and their detonator prevented them from being triggered to seal the approach.
Oh boy.
Kai likely knew that Elementals were just the first wave of Clanner reinforcements, and that more trouble would arrive soon to potentially doom them all.
Potentially?
By every measure, it was immediately apparent that command and control were seemingly lost, and so Kai felt compelled to act. He quickly took charge and offered the rest of his lance to help evacuate the surviving forces, while he alone would endeavor to buy the necessary time in order to save lives. Dr. Lee,
this guy's got Capellan blood in it? This guy's got Liao blood in him?
in charge of the field hospital at Sector 0227, desperately tried to protest relocation, as her staff was inundated with casualties, and many would soon die without first being stabilized. So, in order to convince her, Kai offered to let her join him in the cockpit's jump seat, which amazingly, she accepted. Kai then told the ranking Lyran infantry commander, the sergeant, to grab as many of the surviving troops as he could for a most desperate mission. Their orders would be to find the combat engineer's detonator and seal the canyon at all costs. As they worked toward this objective, Kai would provide cover
Caden, you have a nice night, bud.
by taking the fight to the Elementals. And so, Kai Allard Liao walked forward into history. Outnumbered by elite combatants, he fought like a man possessed, rapidly exhausting his ammunition, and then immediately thereafter, wading into melee combat. He took heavy damage for his brave efforts, losing a laser and having tons of armor torn from his machine, and yet, against an onslaught of elementals, he fought on. Through berserk effort, he scattered the enemy before him, who were surprised, if not shocked, that just one mech, one madman, had the means and mayhem to stop them.
Nice.
Onward he fought, blazing a path of destruction through the enemy, swinging at anything his guns couldn't hit. And through furious application of directed violence, he broke their resolve and sent the surviving elementals running to regroup. However brave Kai had been, though, the battle was not yet won. And far worse, while the elementals had fought him, they had also killed the men sent to retrieve the detonator. And just then, things went from bad to worse. As advancing through the canyon were the 45 Omni-Mechs of the Falcon Guard in double column. As they came into view, Kai realized his brief victory was soon to be overshadowed by near certain defeat. It was, by all means, now a truly hopeless scenario. Kai was seemingly alone versus one of the greatest concentrations of Clanner Omni-Mechs yet encountered by the Inner Sphere. He stood there with a near-broken machine, no ammunition, and facing perhaps his imminent death. The Falcon Guards had known no defeat, and charging forward, their hearts were ready for glory. And yet Kai did not run. Instead, he gathered himself and broadcast to the clanners a short challenge that shall live on in history.
I am Kai Allard Liao. I'm a killer of men. This pass is mine to ward. I offer those who wish to challenge me a warrior's death, but I beg an indulgence of those who accept my offer. Your smaller companions have forced me to exhaust my autocannon ammunition, and they destroyed one of my lasers. I have only this club with which to defend myself, and I will kill you all, alone or in groups.
There was a moment of pause for Kai.
Dude.
Must have seemed like an eternity. This was an act of mad defiance, nothing more than a crazy plan to buy time or go out on his own limited terms. From the clanner perspective, however, this had not been seen as a mere challenge, but in fact, a very awkward battle. And clanners being clanners, they accepted his invitation to personal combat. Honor demanded nothing less. Star Colonel Malthus came forward in his summoner in order to personally handle this contest. For him, this was routine business, and very likely the first kill of many this day. Kai knew full well he would soon die if the fight was fair, and so he ensured it would not be.
Nice.
Kai had his passenger, Dr. Lear, get out of her seat and then instructed her on how to pull the magnetic containment circuits from the Hatchetman's fusion engine. These parts keep the sun inside the power plant behaving, and Kai's intention was to misbehave. As the doctor worked, Kai went to war. He sidestepped the first blow of the summoner and then swung into melee. But the near-crippled Hatchetman was already doomed, as Malthus was a truly excellent pilot commanding a fresh Omnimech. As Malthus aimed to crush the Hatchetman's head and thus extinguish this foolish challenger, the doctor shouted she had completed her task by tearing the last circuit out. And as the Hatchetman's ejection system blasted the doctor and Kai away from the stricken mech, its fusion reactor went critical. At point-blank range, the blast instantly enveloped the summoner, which then sympathetically detonated, and that catastrophic eruption of energy then triggered the explosives planted earlier by the combat engineers. Chain reactions continued, explosion after explosion roaring down the walls of the canyon, blasting tons and tons of rock from the canyon walls, which then came crashing down in waves of crushing debris. And as such, Kai Allard Liao buried the Falcon Guards.
Dude.
On the plain of curtains, the Kellhounds were fighting for their lives, as the Jade Falcon garrison was more than a match for their Inner Sphere opponents. When individual clanner mechs ran forward to join battle, the Kellhounds with strict discipline controlled their fire and focused to destroy them one at a time. Soon enough, the Falcon Erie commander reined her troops in and then proceeded to advance in a more controlled fashion, demonstrating incredible resilience even after the brutal surprise of first contact. Reorganized, they pressed into the AFFC forces and began to efficiently cut them down. However, at point-blank range, the advantages in clan weapon systems were mostly nullified, and soon enough, this battle became a meat grinder of CQB firefights.
Nice.
Under pressure from superior opponents, the Kellhounds took significant casualties and began to fall back. If supported by their 2nd Regiment, the Kellhounds reasoned that they could hold for just 1 hour, enough time for the missing 9th RCT to perhaps seal the plane and win the day. Indeed, somewhere out in the storm, the 9th was, at best guess, 45 minutes away. That is, if they could even reach them, which, thus far, they could not.
Nice.
The storm did not choose sides, and so, for that moment, they were entirely on their own. Further, the loss of comms with Sector 0227 suggested that something terrible had happened. Fearing the worst outcome, AFFC Command ordered Victor Steiner Davion to pull out, hoping to try to save him as their predecessors had at Trail 1. However, this time, the Prince was not having it, so instead, Victor Steiner Davion made a choice. He ordered 4 Lyran dropships to rotate to Sector 0227 to delay Falcon reinforcements. Supported by his commanding officers, he then made plans to fight with the forces on hand. On his command, the Kellhounds reinforced their lines with their 2nd Regiment and rotated their flanks to bolster their position.
Nice.
As this unfolded, Victor called for the 10th Guards to stand to and prepare to advance. They would be called upon to hammer the Falcons with all of the big, dumb strength a Lyran Guards division is historically known for. As the 10th Lyran Guards swiftly formed up on Victor, and with the Kellhounds at center stage, the order to attack was given, and so onward they thundered, taking the fight to Clan Jade Falcon. At this point, the howling intensity of the storm was so fierce, it made LRM and SRM systems completely ineffective. Targeting and communications data was spotty at best, and none of the mechs were fully certain who they were fighting until targets likely filled the cockpit window.
Oh my god.
Needless to say, this was now a very brutal, point-blank hellscape of burning machines and mad pilots trying to survive. Soon enough, the Jade Falcon garrison commander realized that the Falcon Guards, and thus their backup, was not going to arrive, and very likely surmised that something had gone horribly wrong back at the canyon. Now outnumbered and being overrun by Lyran forces selling themselves dearly at point-blank range, she wisely ordered a retreat. Breaking free of the massive attack was an act of skill under fire, compromised by poor communication and the intense chaos of that moment. And as the clanners retreated, they ran right into the 9th RCT.
There it is.
Who had suddenly emerged from the storm, and soon after, with fresh mechs and a taste for vengeance, hunted the last of them down. With the defeat of the garrison forces, thanks to the bumbling arrival of the 9th, serving as an accidental anvil to the 10th's very clumsy hammer, and Kai's burial of the Falcon Guards moments earlier, Clan Jade Falcon was effectively neutralized on the planet. With this, the Battle of Twycross ended as the first Intersphere major victory against the clans. As for
I would
Victor
consider
Steiner
it
Davion,
huge.
He refused to leave the battlefield until his autocannon was empty.
The clanners would have seen what Kai did as brilliant. Like, they would have seen that as absolutely brilliant.
Post-battle, the task force took
He did exactly what he
prisoners
said he was
and
going
hauled
to
away
do.
broken clan equipment as legitimate salvage, seeking technological treasures perhaps hidden in the broken machines of their adversary. Clanner prisoners expected to be taken as bondsmen, and were deeply confused as when asked to what clan they now owed allegiance. They were initially met with an indifferent shrug. The total cost of Intersphere personnel and equipment lost in the operation was indeed high, but the morale boost from knowing the invaders could be bested was considered by most in the AFFC to be well worth it. Nowadays considered to be a Pyrrhic victory for minimal strategic gain, the will to fight was restored by Twycross, and as such, it became a valuable propaganda moment. However, the actual legacy of the battle was not in propaganda, but the validation of military strategy. Twycross proved the value of old techniques and tactics, which had made that victory possible. The Federated Commonwealth had standardized their combined arms formations to more closely mimic those of the Star League era, and to further the effectiveness of these regiments, they applied doctrine and tactics which did not stray far from the ancient theories of absolute war. These were methodologies from which the Inner Sphere had strayed during the Succession Wars due to mounting logistical and resource limitations, if not the malaise of Inner Sphere strategic thinkers during those times. And while the Commonwealth may have been the first to hit back, they were not alone in taking the fight to the clans, as Victor Steiner Davion was not the only Inner Sphere noble to redeem themselves against the invaders that year. It would be House Kurita that would drive the second blow into the clan invasion. The miserably warm swamps of Wolcott would be the stage for a triumph of Kuritan battle strategy. The location for the battle was carefully dressed for the invaders' arrival.
Oh, nice.
With local defenders hanging long metal strips from the trees in order to fog clanner sensor returns. This, coupled with the miserable heat haze of the swampy marsh, would remove any sensor advantage the clanners had. The architect of this defense was Theodore Kurita, the coordinator of the Draconis Combine. At his side was his son Hohiro, who was likely very eager for revenge thanks to his experiences earlier in the invasion. He had seen the heavy hand of a clanner temper tantrum burn a world, and thus he was filled with the resolve to pay this memory back tenfold.
Oh boy.
Taking the field were the 1st and 2nd Genyosha, who were the most fanatic and loyal soldiers of the DCMS. However, to fool the clanners, their records would reflect these as green troops, and totally unproven on the battlefield. The defenders were ordered to sit in their idling mechs with most of their heat sinks switched off, save for those in the legs, an act which concealed their heat signatures thanks to the already warm water. Backing the elite forces up was a swarm of hovercraft and fast-moving combined arms elements well suited to the swampy terrain. To call this an ambush is insufficient. This instead was to be a carefully prepared killing field. And so, the stage was set. All they needed now was a dance partner. As fate would have it, Clan Smoke Jaguar had selected the 225th Battle Cluster to take Wolcott, which was the very same clan galaxy which had ravaged Edo. As Smoke Jaguar burned toward the planet, the typical challenges were issued, terms negotiated, and then accepted by both sides. The clanners landed uncontested at the designated trial site. Then shortly thereafter, all hell was unleashed. From out of the mire and muck, packs of Savannah Masters, Drillsons, and Saracens savaged the flanks of the invaders, causing them to close ranks. And at that moment, the heavy elements of the Genyosha jumped on them, completely saturating the target-rich environment as they engaged. As soon as the clanners would move to put more distance between themselves and trouble, lighter, swifter machines of the Combine would dart in and wreak havoc once again, forcing them back into the kill box. For hours, this was done to the clanners, over and over again, in continual cycles of mayhem and murder. Every move the clanners made was met and punished by overwhelming firepower, and so losses quickly mounted. Seeing the likely outcome of total annihilation, the Smoke Jaguar commander ordered the unthinkable. Star Colonel Dieter Osis told his forces to power down and then surrendered. Up to that point, there had been a bare handful of battles during the Jaguars' ruthless march through Combine space where they ever had to actually reinforce. But this was something completely new. It was nothing short of a full admittance of failure in the face of the enemy. Defeated but honorable, Osis requested Hegira, which is clanner speak for safe withdrawal without further combat.
Nope, I doubt it.
And after a brief pause, it was granted, but with conditions. As bargained, Clan Smoke Jaguar left the Draconis Combine their broken machines and equipment, plus 4 near-mint Omnimex and 2 suits of power armor as a Sorla, or what we in the Inner Sphere call a war prize. Additionally, through clever negotiations by Huhiro during the battle, the clans would make no further effort to take Wolcott. Dieter Osis did not live to receive reprimand from his commanders for this catastrophic battle. Defeated, he offered to serve the Combine, but not knowing the clan way of bondsmen, Huhiro Kurita turned him down, very likely presuming that this would take the form of ritual suicide, as is Kuritan custom. Refused the status as a bondsman, Osis then pleaded with Huhiro that his children must not be destroyed. This shocked the Kuritans, who did not understand what he meant in the slightest. Before anything else could be said, a battle-suited elemental retired Dieter Osis from service via a laser to the head. Shortly thereafter, one of the clan warriors opened a channel, declared the Genyosha a worthy opponent, stated that they were leaving, and then asked, "Do you wish to have the commander's children destroyed?" Without hesitation, Huhiro answered, "No." And so the Jaguars left Wolcott, securing another victory for the Inner Sphere.
Dude, clan society is screwed up.
While leaving the Kuritans wondering in stunned silence about the clan's strange ways regarding failures of command and the punishments they potentially levied against generations for the failings of a single person. Soon enough, the clans would be forced to put their entire operational plans on pause. The clans had just finished conquering Radstadt, which would be one of the last targets of Clan Wolf's 4th wave of the invasion. And there, over a defeated world, a daughter of Rasselhag would change history. Clan Wolf's flagship, the Dire Wolf, and its escorts constituted the command and control elements of the clan invasion fleet. Aboard was Ilkhan Leo Showers, attended by his inner circle and command staff. As the Dire Wolf made the jump to Radstadt, moments after their arrival, another vessel appeared nearby. It was the Norseman, the personal jump ship of Prince Hakon Magnusson. The Prince of Rasselhag had been on the run, desperately trying to reach the relative safety of Radstadt before the Clanner invasion could get there. But breakdowns in the drive of his jump ship had caused delays for weeks. He had no idea that the planet had already fallen when he jumped in system. However,
I think I've heard of this,
materializing directly adjacent to their enemy, the battle was on. The forces of Rasselhag had no warships. They had no task force, just a handful of fighters and dropships. However, they did have Crazy, and in the Inner Sphere, Crazy solves problems more often than not.
Yes.
24 aerospace fighters and 5 combat dropships of the Flying Dracons immediately detached from the Norsemen and burned straight for the Direwolf. What unfolded was brave madness, as the dropships then opened their cargo bays so that the battle mechs inside could add their firepower to the furious battle. The Dracons knew this was a one-way trip, a final berserk charge to buy their prince another chance of escape. for they still believed that as long as he lived, so did Rasselhog. The direwolf, an actual warship made for this sort of engagement, was supported by 4 Overlord-class dropships, plus the Omni fighters of the Golden Keshik, the personal honor guard of Clan Wolf. Watching this unfold from the warship's holotank, Ilkhan Showers and Khan Karinsky were present for what promised to be the sudden and dramatic end of a great house. Outmatched but committed, the Drakens went in, giving the clanners absolute hell. And while they were indeed good, the clanners loved a challenge, and were quickly calling upon all available reinforcements, fully intent on finishing this once and for all. However, as things were looking grim, the Norseman, thanks to its lithium fusion battery system, quickly recharged its jump drive, and in a flash, disappeared. This sudden escape surprised the clanner pilots, which gave the now stranded Rasselhog forces exactly the opening they needed. With their jump ship gone, and with the prince now safe, all they had to do was die as gloriously as possible in order to prevent the clanners from following.
There you go.
Captain Tira Miraborg led her 7 remaining fighters into successive strafing runs point blank against the direwolf, until one by one, she was the last one left. And still, she fought on, every second buying her prince the time he needed. But no pilot, however skilled, is ever invincible. After a bad hit, with their craft barely functional, she made a fateful decision, one which would shape the outcome of the war. In one last act of defiance, she removed the engine power restraints on her fighter, pointed it toward the direwolf, and then rammed into the bridge at wide open throttle. Tira Miraborg's kamikaze killed Ilkhan Leo Showers of Clan Smoke Jaguar, and in doing so, paralyzed the invasion. In the immediate aftermath, for daring to strike down their Khan, many among Clan Smoke Jaguar wanted to raze Rajstadt to the ground as summary punishment, though cooler heads soon prevailed, as there was now a critical matter of state to attend
chat.
to.
Oh my god.
Clan custom mandated they would have to return to the clan homeworlds in order to elect a new Ilkhan, and only then could the invasion resume. The last act of a single pilot granted the Inner Sphere a full year of peace, and thus, time to prepare.
X in chat for this one. This, honestly, this is an example of how backwards their society was. How absolutely backwards this society was. Giving the Inner Sphere a full year to dissect their technology and make adjustments killed this. Conclusion.
When the time to perform has arrived, the time to prepare has passed. The clans had prepared to fight a war on their terms, to win victories by using the smallest, most elite allocation of forces in order to gain the greatest honor possible. While their culture had shaped them to be peerless warriors continually competing for the honor of combat, it had not prepared them for the realities of large-scale conflict. Their conquered territories, time and again, demonstrated that victory does not manifest when one side declares the fighting done. The other side must agree, and frequently, their conquered populations did not. War is a fantastic teacher, but unfortunately, it frequently tends to kill many of its best students. Thus, the clan invasion was a brutal and necessary awakening for the Inner Sphere. Long had the great houses sat atop their empires of dirt, very content to wage inefficient and limited war after the 4 succession conflicts had diminished their strategic competency. For generations, they had squabbled amongst themselves, each fully believing that none would ever topple their primacy. When tested against a warrior culture which had spent centuries refining its craft, shaping its tools, its tactics, and even its genome, they faced a true test. Through defeat after defeat, the forces of the Inner Sphere endured, learning from each disaster, learning from the mistakes they had made, and the presumptions they held dear. Prior to Twycross, the clans had known only glorious triumph. They had known easy victory, self-sabotaging only occasionally, with missteps like Ito and the typical infighting their culture encourages in the name of competition. Those who stood before them were either found useful and captured, or swiftly and inefficiently rendered into the past tense. They had been bred for war, educated since childhood to drive peerless war machines, and pushed by their superiors to excel in every theater of conflict. Every step of the invasion was meticulously planned, carefully considered, and then boldly executed. And yet, a Pyrrhic Inner Sphere victory on a strategically insignificant world would herald their eventual defeat, as it was the moment the Inner Sphere began to strike back in an organized manner with sufficient strategic weight to make an appreciable difference. Thus, Twycross is a turning point in history. What followed the battle was a great chain of progressively larger Inner Sphere victories, frequently won at enormous material and manpower cost, each sharpening the blades of the Inner Sphere, and ultimately weakening the Clanner war machine, which had to contend with an 800 light-year latency in replacement equipment, manpower, and vital war materials. The Inner Sphere could replace most of their losses in a matter of months. The Clanners could not. Culturally, Twycross is largely overlooked in the Inner Sphere. To the clans, however, it casts an incredibly long shadow. After the Battle of Twycross, Adler Malthus's loss of the Falcon Guards to falling rocks brought so much shame to his blood name that political rivals turned on Sakhan Timur Malthus in the clan's Grand Council, which forced Timur to resign in disgrace. Immediately after Twycross, Malthus-named warriors were sent home, regardless of their conduct in the war to this point, as they too were deemed to bear his shame, and thus were unworthy of significant participation in the war. The only surviving officer of the Falcon Guards, Star Captain Joanna, was demoted and then sent home to serve as a training instructor. Despite temporarily losing her social standing for merely being present at such an ignoble defeat, she would go on to become a legend. And of historical note, she later killed Natasha Kerensky on Twycross. But that's another story. It wasn't just mech warriors the clanners discarded, as they had discarded their strategic advantage by bidding away warships thanks to the casual war crimes of Clan Smoke Jaguar. Collectively, these choices demonstrated that the clanners had not adequately prepared for this sort of war, and were incapable of changing to meet the evolving requirements of this particular conflict. For every war is unique, and they had believed that by imposing their rules upon this invasion, they could forge victory on their terms. Most Inner Sphere pilots were not trained from childhood to fight, and none genetically engineered to be better fighters. Many were not assigned by birth into a caste system designed to provoke excellence, but instead chose the vocation and applied themselves to the purpose. where the clans excelled in training for conflict, eventually building an entire civilization which supported one product, the warrior class. The inner sphere, by contrast, frequently had to make do with what they had. And so, slowly, by paying in blood, they suffered for it, and thus,
yes, Red Eye,
they learned. Twycross reminded
Red Eye, if you took a 40k mech, like if you took an Imperator Titan and dropped it on any world in the inner sphere, the Imperator would wipe out any resistance that would come. Like, it would wipe them out completely and totally. It would be an instantaneous domination. It would take so much to bring that down with the weaponry they have. But yeah, this is on a completely different level. Like I said, this would be 4th millennia.
the Great House War planners.
Red Eye, I fully doubt that the battle, if all the mechs in the battle that just happened, if all the mechs in the battle that he just talked about in Twycross were to fight one Imperator Titan, they wouldn't even get its void shields down.
Larger formations with a wide variety of equipment allowed a campaign to face the realities of conflict, to adapt and overcome, and to have sufficient reserves on hand to push advantages when they cropped up. It reminded them that the Star League's ideas of force composition were not foolish and superfluous or unnecessary, but instead very sane and extremely practical. Wolcott reminded
even knights would be practically
that any
immortal.
Opponent possessing substantially better training, equipment, and material can indeed be overcome with sufficient preparation, and that by stacking the deck in your favor, you can wrestle victory from any battleground. Rosselhog reminded the Inner Sphere that batshit insanity and the refusal to back down can make all of the difference, and given enough time, by an opening for a single individual to change the course of history. Being given a year of peace, the Inner Sphere prepared for the clanners' eventual return. In this time, new weapons were forged alongside the renewal of old alliances. By studying the ways of their adversary, the Inner Sphere finally discovered the clan's greatest weaknesses and prepared to exploit them. The clans were honor-bound, and if challenged, they would meet on any field of battle as desired. However, the deepest flaw they possessed was very human. The clans had been arrogant and presumptive, using old information as a basis of fact, fully believing that the Inner Sphere was incapable of rallying, unifying, or fighting back in a meaningful way. They had fatally dismissed their opponents as a lesser people, and thus, their very hubris would serve to defeat them. Until next time, class dismissed.
Oh my god. Time for some post-credits,
The production
guys.
of this film would not have been possible without the tireless efforts and magnificent contributions of our artists. Through pen and paint, through ink and graphite, through sweat and dedication, they have driven this production forward from its humble beginnings and made possible that which you see here tonight.
Let's go,
I
guys. It's
insist
credits time.
They take a bow and recommend them eagerly for any production you may have. For they are worthy of your support by every measure.
Here we go.
Duncan Fisher here. I've been asked by the fine people of Van Zant. Where in the fuck? Hi, Duncan Fisher here.
Hi, Duncan.
And I've been asked by the polite people of Van Zant to introduce you to the wonderful tourist destination of their home planet.
Uh-huh.
If it's so wonderful, where the hell is it? What do you mean the deep periphery? That's vague. That's like saying from parts unknown. This is bullshit. Hello, Duncan Fisher here. I've been asked by the patient people of Van Zant to introduce you to the wonderful tourist destination of Van Zant. Come on down to see. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of corn. Cows? Wow.
Cows.
Cows. So amazing. Surely don't want to miss this opportunity to see cattle just walking around and being cows.
Cows.
Hey, Arnie, did that check clear? Come see the Star League Museum and gift shop. Is that a Hetzer stuck in the roof?
Yes.
Come see the Star League Museum and gift shop, featuring real Star League era artifacts like this coffee cup. And is that... Holy... That's actually Kerensky's signature.
Oh.
What does it say? Waited 30 minutes, no service. This planet is terrible. What? Are you telling me General Alexander Kerensky was there at some point and got bad service and wrote
I hear the bat chawls coming right now.
on the napkin and left? And this is a museum piece? What the shit? Come see our local, occasionally warring narco fiefdoms? Is that a typo? Did they... What the... How in the hell... Doug, how is there an entire continent that just grows corn and cocaine? What in the fuck? How do I get there? Come and enjoy the peerless post office, who is now empowered to kill on sight. Shit. That's actually metal. Hey, Steve, did I tell you? I was in Macbeth once. The Shakespeare thing. Yeah, it was awesome.
No,
I
it
had
wasn't.
A sword. Drinking scotch in the booth, drinking scotch in the booth, getting paid to lie for idiots and drinking scotch in the booth. Is this take 69? Nice. Nice. Van Zant, celebrating 385 years of provisional government. Wait, they don't have a permanent government? Oh, are these guys pirates? Taking it from the top, Sonny. Van Zant, home of the all-you-can-eat barbecue maple bacon breakfast log.
Not gonna lie. Yeah.
What is that? It's self-heating? Why? Why in the love of God? How many takes is this? This message brought to you by Union Flak and Carbide. Remember, free apple pie with every kiloton scale fission product you buy.
Yay!
Okay, that's just messed up. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Seriously, take 1029? This message brought to you by Discount Dan's Pretty Good Battle Mix. Come see our most of a Mad Cat. Free air. Seriously, free air? Who is this guy?
Discount Dan.
Look at that smile. Is he Satan? Brought to you by the Devil's Right Hand, the best-selling fully automatic giant eagle stopping pistol made anywhere in the periphery. Giant eagles? What is this, Lord of the Rings? Van Zant, brought to you by Wide Tom's Bean House. Enjoy our beanie goodness with beans. Yes, beanaritas are back again this summer. Made with... Everything on this menu is beans. What the fuck? Van Zant, don't worry about the pirates on our second moon. Oh, so they're not pirates.
Uh-huh.
They have pirates. That's reassuring. Van Zant, our currency is backed by the gold standard. The gold standard of corn?
Corn.
Seriously, corn?
Yes.
Corn? All right, here we go. Last one. Van Zant, when you're here, you're here. There, did it. Ha-ha, done and dusted.
Right.
Handled. Put a bow on it because it's wrapped up. Stick a fork in it because it's done.
Yeah.
Any more? Good? Good.
Good.
Pants off, dance off time.
Hey there! Are you stupidly hopeless with money and financial arrangements? You're watching late night broadcasting, so let's presume that that's not only incredibly rude, but exceptionally true. Hey there, folks. I'm Discount Dan.
Hey, Discount
Dan. If you're
Dan.
interested in making bucket loads of money while casually discarding petty concepts such as morality, then boy do I have an offer for you. Welcome to the Discount Dan School of Hard Knocks and learn how to acquire vast sums of other people's money.
Nice.
You see, the secret to making money is to make sure it's never your own money. But people don't want to just give money away, so let me show you how to get it. Here's some examples of schemes. I mean
Schemes.
Business strategies.
Business
that work.
strategies.
I guarantee it. Look, a scrapyard. Or is it? Put up some signs and presto, it's a theme park.
Oh, yeah,
With
there
a
we
little
go.
imagination and clever labeling, we got all sorts of rides like Rust Mountain, the Maze of Sharp Metal, and the spooky forest of abandoned cars that might have been used in a murder or seven.
Ooh.
Find an abandoned container full of fruit that's way beyond expiration date? No worries. With the Discount Dan School of Business, I'll show you how to turn some bad apples into big money.
Okay.
With Discount Dan's Presto Squeeze organic juice remarketing scheme, your profits will be riper than ripe. Only 400 C-bills a bag. That's a bargain. I want you to know that you can resell anything to anybody at any time using nothing but good old-fashioned lies, Canopus battle powder, excessive energy, incredibly immoral business practices, and a lot of positivity. So put your 50 easy payments of $99.99 in the mail and send it to the Discount Dan School of Hard Knocks and learn how to acquire vast sums of money. Don't believe me? Let's turn to the testimonials.
Okay.
I believe you are a criminal. You lied to me. This is not a mad cat at all. It is a Rakshasa, which is worse in every way possible. I mean, you're basically a huge criminal.
That's right. These prices are criminal. And that's a bargain. And you, sir, are a very mighty warrior who is handsome and everybody likes you.
Are you insane?
That's right. These prices are insane. And you'd have to be a complete idiot to not join the big money bandwagon of the Discount Dan School of Hard Knocks and learn how to acquire vast sums of money. Whoop. Airtime costs money. So remember, I am Discount Dan and I will always take your money. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Oh, great Hetzer of the lake, what is your wisdom?
The humble Hetzer, despite its frequently cursed reputation, is a well-known wheeled assault vehicle, and one of the many popular products of Quixel, a notorious corporation with its own vast historical legacy of competent design backed by an extraordinary sales division, oft overshadowed by a truly terrifying rate of manufacturing defects. However, given that quantity often has a quality all of its own, if you need an army on the cheap, often Quixel has you covered.
Okay.
Sold far and wide as a truly bargain bin armor solution, the Hetzer tends to be not very well made, and it's fairly typical that Hetzer deliveries for any defense force buying them will often involve said force having to contend with relatively common Quixel manufacturing defects.
Okay.
Like a tendency to skip such extraneous luxury features as paint, wiring, core components, or wheels. As to why customers might put up with any of that, the typical answer is that the Hetzer is cheap, and incredibly so. And it's that price point, an order of magnitude cheaper than many battle mechs, that makes the platform as desirable as it is. The Hetzer is actually even cheaper than many individual battle mech weapon systems, and thus this diminutive wheeled terror is offered as a disposable armor platform for you to throw at a problem until better help arrives or you can escape.
Okay.
Any potential Hetzer operator should probably be aware of the fact that in an era of fusion engine, Euro helmet piloted war machines, opting to equip a force with a Hetzer might be taken as a signal of crippling austerity and limited means. But again, it is cheap. So cheap, in fact, that on any planet with a decent arms market on any given day, you might be able to buy a fully equipped brand new Hetzer with an AC-20 for roughly 664,000 C-bills. Given that an AC-20 without ammo on the open market is going to benchmark for around 300,000 C-bills, that should give you a decent idea of how much of the sticker price is tied up in that main armament, as opposed to, the rest of the Hetzer. Take further account of the fact that 664,000 figure is going to include taxes, delivery, RSO contract fees, and a healthy profit margin, and it will probably dawn on you pretty quickly just how tightly Quixel must have cut the corners on this platform. At its baseline price, you can get about 2.5 brand new Hetzers for the price of a base model urban mech. And while many military minds out there will maintain a professional level of scorn for the Hetzer as a platform, it still arguably has a place on the battlefield, as suddenly being surprised by an AC-20 driven by lunatics at point-blank range is typically more effective than not.
Yeah.
That typical employment method, however, means that often owning a Hetzer is seen as a more or less temporary affair. Something which only adds to the general reputation for audacity and madness that Hetzer crews tend to accrue. After all, when you're driving a wheeled vehicle that manages to pack 19 tons of weapons and ammo into a 40-ton combat weight, what's a little extra risk? For example, the crew of a much more expensive platform might see gunning it at full speed across a shoddy pontoon bridge as being unnecessarily risky and insanely reckless.
True.
But Hetzer crews? Well, as
They'll
the
just
saying
do it.
goes, Hetzer gonna Hetz.
Heads are gonna heads.
That is most wise. Do you have anything else?
Okay, two things. One, I'm not a talking tank. I'm trapped in here and would very much like not to be. Secondly, the maximum loading limit of the pontoon bridge was indeed 25 tons, so that stuff up was mine, and I would be bloody appreciative if you would go ahead and call armoured recovery. The combination of that aforementioned 4 tons of AC-20 ammo and freshwater fish aren't making for the most comfortable of company.
Oh God, here we go. All right.
Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Deutschkurs für Unterhaltungen. Für den normalen, gesetzestreuen Bürger. Ich bin es, Ihr loyaler Soldat des Staates. Hier, um Sie daran zu erinnern, dass Deutsch die wohlbeste Sprache des täglichen Gebrauchs ist.
Okay.
Die Klasse besetzt.
Basic greetings.
Hallo.
Hello.
Wie geht es dir?
Wie geht es dir?
Weißt du, wo der Schnitzelstand ist? Was für ein schöner Tag. Meinst du nicht auch? Wo arbeitest du? Liebst du nicht auch das tyrannische Commonwealth?
Basic questions. Here we go. Here we go.
Wo ist die Bücherei? Weißt du, wo die Kapellane...
Why was it that every single, like in every single class that I ever took for foreign languages, they always wanted you to be able to learn how to ask where the library was? It's not like you can read anything there, damn it.
Sind? Warum bist du nicht bei der Arbeit?
Why are you not at work?
Wo sind deine Papiere?
Oh, yeah, there we go. Helpful phrases. Get ready, guys.
Jahreskonvention? Klingt mir nach Vorschlägen. Beim ersten Mal ist es kein Kriegsverbrechen. Du hast die Befehle gehört. Lass uns das ganze Dorf erledigen. Gewalt ist mehr als die halbe Schlacht.
It's more than half the battle. Nice.
Hello, it's I, John Video Game Publisher. How can I help you? Ah, my liege. What a pleasant surprise.
Oh, God.
Ah, yes, let me check. Yeah, profits are up 11%. Seems like the country is yielding excellent results this quarter. Yes, let me check the releases for this week. Yeah, we got cinematic third-person over-the-shoulder game. Yeah, localized animated game with less views. Big budget The Open World 3.
Okay.
Port of great indie game that came out 3 years ago. Yeah, I believe that's all. Oh, and yeah, the flop.
The flop.
Yeah, I regret to inform you, my liege.
it seems that generic hero shooter with quirky characters has performed below expectations.
What is Concord for 500, Alex?
With all due respect, sir, have you looked at the news? It's a massacre out here. What do you mean, pull the plow? It hasn't been out for a week. Oh, well, if you say so. So, geez, not even a season pass this time?
Screw it.
As you command, my liege. Wait, I'm getting a raise? Huh. Well, good news, everyone. Guess who's getting laid off instead of me?
Oh! Nice. When duty calls, our heroes rise. From brave mech warriors to our special forces and our brave reserves.
The Van Zant militia stands ready to defend Van Zant and to be deployed elsewhere to make those sweet, sweet paychecks.
Yeah,
but don't
baby.
Take my word for it. Let's hear some testimonials from militia members.
Let's hear it.
So, I was asked to either join the militia or go to jail. Seeing as jail is literally a hole in the ground, as in, you know,
a hole.
A giant hole where they kick you in after shouting, "Get in your hole!" Well, I chose the militia. Well, you get to keep what you kill, so that's a plus.
Yay!
Got myself about 20 hetzers.
Yay!
None of them work.
Oh.
I should probably work on that.
I joined because the recruiter said if I did, I'd get a grilled cheese. Now I have a grilled cheese and PTSD.
I joined because it was battle farming and I hate corn.
Why did I join the Van Zandt Free State Militia? I joined because they told me for every confirmed mech kill, I'd get a Klondike bar. Man, I love my job.
I joined because they let you step on things with your mech, and that's really funny. Little people are like,
Stop stepping on me.
but I can't hear them because they're smashed.
I used to work in the carport. Now I'm like a bloody dictator. So yeah.
I joined because they told me if I keep taking things apart without permission, I'm going to get in trouble. Now I have a uniform, so taking things apart is really fun and they pay me.
Eu me alisei porque eu sou criminoso de viagem. E aqui tem café grátis.
Free coffee.
I joined because I stood in the wrong line.
Oh.
I thought it was the line for licensing agricultural equipment. Now I burn villages and drink mead.
Yay!
To glory and Valhalla.
I joined because they let me remove grid squares. Pretty much all of them. All the time. Artillery's great.
I joined because they promised to let me call down an airstrike on Pete's corn maze. Yeah, they let me do just that. You get lost in a corn maze and, yeah.
It changes it, man.
It had to go.
They told me in basic training that the area's conventions are more like guidelines, if not suggestions.
Yeah.
Then they said, who wants to see a nuke?
I joined because they told me the rules of engagement
Money, bitches, free dental, divine status.
were pretty much whatever. And I mean, it's nice being your own boss.
We got supply the militia with the best flak and carbide products on, huh? Also, don't forget your free apple pie, huh?
Yeah!
I was a war correspondent, and they just scratched out correspondent right in front of me. They told me my job now is just war. That's bad, right? I've seen things.
I joined up for the dental, vision, medical pay, matching retirement, free chicken, and oh yeah, the pigeon sunglasses. All I had to do was do whatever they told me.
I joined up because they said we could race equipment around and go fast and eat ass, and I do all those things because I'm awesome. My mama says I'm the best race car driver in the whole world.
Okay.
She's dumb, though.
And if you will indulge me, allow me to drop character for a rare moment. While many choose to praise me as the source of all this, or try to blame me for some measure of the renaissance of our fandom, I must state for the record that such a belief is false. Know that this production has been made possible only through the tireless efforts of my team, in addition to the tireless support of a loving and caring fan base, and of course, a dedication to do things the right way from the get-go. This film in particular was an insane undertaking, only possible because you guys made it happen. From writing to final render, this project took 372 days. The fact that such
Holy
a crazy
God.
thing was made in an increasingly disposable age which celebrates ever-dwindling attention spans is a testament to your support and, in my perhaps biased opinion, a triumph.
We did
of
last
good
week,
taste.
Alistar.
So I want to take the time here and now to applaud the everlasting passion of my team, the supreme dedication of their efforts, and their continual, incredible professional talent.
Very nice.
But further, I want to remind you that this production is brought to you by you and no one else. From our humble beginnings, you helped this grow. You helped us make this. And through your steadfast efforts, you all helped us be seen and celebrated when the system seemed not to care one mote for what we do or how we chose to do it. You helped us maintain relevancy on a platform that does not care for these things and has many times worked against it. You have insisted we maintain our quality and helped us, a bunch of nobodies along the way, to raise an ocean for charity. So please, if anyone is to take a bow this evening, none are more deserving than you. From the bottom of my very tired soul, thank you. So anyways, happy 40th anniversary, BattleTech community. And with that, let us celebrate the insane heroes that made this possible. Roll the credits.
Nice.
Oh, I'll sing you a song. It's a song of our deeds. Roll me, boys, roll.
Let's go.
Great movie, as always. Tech's incredible. A film. Honestly, this might be a film. I mean, and you've been there the whole time. You've been on your BattleTech grind. You've catalyzed a renaissance, elevated the water level. Now listen, I don't know if you heard. I heard this. George Ledoux says that you're the voice of the whole thing. He says that you're the guy. Now, let me say this. Now, you know that I'm in a position to make things happen for you. Magical things. Lifetime con passes. That's just a taste. That's just a taste of my power. But I do need something from you.
And what would that be, Tycho?
Tex. Black Knight. Win. Win.
It's literally the next one.
Oh. Well, I'll see you there.
All right, thanks, brother.
Nice. Who is that? Oh my god, who is that? Oh, okay. Warpugs. BattleTech Tuesday is one of my favorite days these days. It really has become one of my favorite things to do. I am looking forward to the next few days. I feel like I'm starting to get ahead again and get myself back in like real real position. 1 second. Oh. Do I like 40K or BattleTech? 40K is always my home, Red Eye. 40K is my home. That is pretty much what it is, okay? I have been a student of 40K for a very, very long time. It is where I am most comfortable. It's where I know the most about. It's like legitimately it's where I exist, okay? But it doesn't mean I can't enjoy other fandoms. It really doesn't mean that at all. I started off learning very little about BattleTech, Mech Warrior in general, and as time has gone on, you guys have shown such an interest in this, and such an interest in, you know, learning this alongside of me, that this has kind of become a real passion thing for me, alongside like other things that you guys have introduced me to. But I haven't felt something like this before about something that I've been introduced to. It's so damned interesting. And we're going to keep on learning together. Warpugs, I'll decide what we're going to be checking out next time. But, guys, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you guys are going to have the rest of your week is wonderful. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your week. Thank you for putting up with the cat. I'm hoping to do another live stream later this week. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm hoping to put together another one. Until then, though, guys, thank you for joining me. And I hope you guys have a great night, okay? Get some sleep. Get some sleep. I'll catch you guys next time.
Warpugs march to the sound of thunder. Taurian banners raised high asunder. Steel on steel, you hear the echoes roar. Good times rhymes with war crimes evermore. Get off our lawn, starling scum, we stand as one. You'd better run, paws of fury, hearts ablaze. Warpugs thunder through the haze. From dusty plains to the jagged peaks, we guard our home through fire and sleet. No concordant will kneel or bow. Our cause is just, our time is now. Get off our lawn, starling scum, we stand as one. You'd better run, paws of fury, hearts ablaze. Warpugs thunder through the haze. We're snarling thunder, relentless charge. Our anthem shakes the void at large.